NBA Showtime was Midway's last basketball arcade game.
Don't touch him, you'll burn your fingers. This guy's on fire.
So as you can see, the graphics are a major improvement over the games that came before. The gameplay, however, is more or less the same as in the NBA Jam and NBA Hangtime series.
Nicely done.
Now, the other difference is that this game has an NBC license, so it really makes it feel like the NBA on NBC, but in the arcade. But it does feel like there's something missing.
Get out of here, Stockton. From short range, this guy's red hot. Hands off to Marbury.
Now, naturally, when this game came out, we didn't know this at the time, but the truth is that NBA Showtime really marks the end of an era. Honestly, for me, this will tell you how old I am, it's hard for me to believe that it's been this long since these games came out in the arcade. I mean, this game came out in 1999, that's over 25 years ago. So obviously, not a lot has changed from the old winning formula.
With the finger roll, he missed again.
For instance, this is still a 2-on-2 game.
Iverson. Again with the shot. That was all net.
You've still got some pretty crazy hidden characters. Now, you don't exactly have the US president, but at least it's something.
Right through.
And of course, you can create your own character just like in NBA Hangtime. So, of course, the biggest difference is the graphics. NBA Showtime went for like the full 3D look. Now, it's not a full 3D game the way that NBA Jam Extreme was. Remember how bad that game was. This is still a 2D game, it's just that all the sprites, I guess you could still call them that, are all done in 3D. And it actually looks okay as long as you don't look too closely. The in-game graphics are a clear improvement over NBA Hangtime.
He should never have been taking that shot. He's really heating up.
So here's Hangtime for comparison.
Dealing and dealing. Passes to Miller.
You can see that the 3D graphics of NBA Showtime are a major improvement.
Again with the shot. He has found a hot spot.
And of course, like I said, you've got all of those NBC graphics, which does add a little bit. But, I mean, the problem here, though, is that the way that these players are rendered in 3D really looks janky, and it must have looked janky at the time. So, every game starts off with this introduction screen, and it's a problem. I mean, just look at it. The players don't even look human. Some of the instant replays also accidentally showcase this problem. Now, I guess this isn't horrible. It's just that it looks nothing like a real game on television.
Left baseline, McKee for 3.
6 out of 12 from that corner.
Actually, in my opinion, the original NBA Jam looks a little bit more realistic. The players in NBA Showtime seem oddly distorted.
Iverson again with the shot. This guy is smoking now.
Now, the thing that I know all of you are thinking is, well, those are graphics. Graphics aren't as important as gameplay. It's the same thing I thought as a kid. Of course, when I was growing up, we were poor. We only had an NES, no Super Nintendo. And so I'd always say, well, graphics aren't important. The gameplay's better on the old stuff. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I mean, NBA Showtime's gameplay is good, but it's the same as the games that came before it. And then the next question you have is, overall, is the gameplay really better than the original games? The basics are exactly the same in Showtime.
Again with the shot, and he missed it. Marbury.
However, there is a twist.
Hands off to Van Horn. Wizard. Van Horn. Van Horn.
If you're caught pushing your opponent, you get charged for a
He
foul.
missed again. He gave him a push.
If you get 5 fouls, your opponent gets a free throw.
And they are over the limit.
Now, a single free throw is worth 3 points, not 1. And then the team shooting the free throw gets the ball. I mean, that's ridiculously punishing for committing, 5 fouls or however the game, defines fouls. And I guess this is supposed to give you an incentive to play defense like the right way. But if that's the case, why even let players push in the game? I mean, why not work on your defense so that it's a little bit easier to block shots, or it's a little bit easier to steal the ball, or it's easier to, stick with players when you're trying to defend them? Anyway, the whole foul mechanic, everything behind it, I've just got a big problem with it. Defense in this game isn't easy to play, but it is manageable.
Shoots. Won't go. That was a cheap shot.
It's not as good as NBA Hang Time, where shutdown defense can completely change the game.
Ruffin. Off the front of the rim.
The foul system, to me, makes it feel like the game punishes you for trying to play defense. And overall, it just doesn't feel like an NBA Jam game.
Carey.
So I know, again, I've mentioned that foul system in other videos, and I know from the comments that at least some of you guys don't really mind it that much. Personally, though, I mean, since this is an NBA Jam type game, I don't think that the foul system really belongs. There's a couple of other things about this game that really drive me nuts. So for example, it feels like it's harder to dunk in this game than the other games.
Fires and scores.
I mean, there are alley-oops, but it's a lot more rare to see than in Hang Time. Hang Time is cool because there's almost always an alley-oop option.
The ball is loose. Scott. There's the alley-oop.
And then there's this three-point hotspot system, which I honestly think is both janky and a distraction.
Anyone who can stop this guy.
So those hotspots, they were originally introduced in Maximum Hang Time. Now, I know I haven't talked very much about that game yet. It kind of fits in between Hang Time and NBA Showtime. Actually, one of the reasons why I've been kind of reluctant to play it is because of the hotspots, which I know are quite controversial. Now, personally, I would have chosen a different system to include in these games to really shake things up. So one of the coolest parts of the acclaimed home ports of NBA Jam Tournament Edition was the power-up settings. In a multiplayer game, these settings can completely change the experience. It's tons of fun to play with this on, even if you play single player. Unfortunately, Midway didn't create anything like this for NBA Showtime. Personally, I would much rather have this than the hotspots and the fouls. Now, I want to go back to the fouls here one more time because there really is something about these fouls conceptually that drives me nuts. Let me show you. Okay, this is NFL Blitz. I know you guys know this game already. It came out at the same time NBA Showtime came out. There are no penalties in Blitz. Surprise, surprise. You just play the game.
The Washington Redskins intercepted. Oh, he just levels up.
See, in this kind of game, it feels wrong to be punished for doing something that is normally against the rules.
First down.
The last thing you want is a game that punishes you for playing the way that you want to play.
Hard shove. Iverson. Rejected. Oh, that guy just took it.
Anyway, despite the fact that, as I just said, the game kind of punishes you for playing the way you want to play, NBA Showtime actually did okay in the arcades. I mean, I remember playing it when I was probably in, high school then? I played it at least twice. It wasn't the smash success, though, that NBA Jam and NBA Jam Tournament Edition was. The funny thing is that a lot of the arcades that carried Showtime also carried the older games. Usually the older games were cheaper, and a lot of us just went back to play the older games because we already knew them. Right? It doesn't compete that well against the older games. But in hindsight, really, the big problem with Showtime is not even the gameplay, the fouls, or the hotspots. No, the big problem with this game is the advantage that it should have had. That would be the graphics. The game looks okay, sure.
Wizard, half row, yes!
But you have to remember that this came out in 1999, and this was in the arcades. In contrast, this is NBA Street Volume 2, which came out in 2003, 4 years later.
Clear as day.
NBA Street looks miles above NBA Showtime.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, the difference is obvious once you make the comparison. And the crazy thing is that NBA Street was a home console game, not an arcade game.
That's it. Somebody's choking in here. Oh man, his hands was crazy. After the game, he's gonna do 2 magic shows and.
So part of the problem here is something that Midway really couldn't control. This game came out at a time when graphical capabilities of home consoles were increasing rapidly, like really rapidly. Now this didn't just impact NBA Showtime, it impacted all of the arcade games. In fact, this is what really led to the death of arcade games. Now if you're younger and you don't really remember what things were once like, let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is simple. The original NBA Jam arcade game, when it came out in 1993, looked like this. The home console versions of the original game came out in 1994. They looked like this. Even the Genesis and Super Nintendo ports of Tournament Edition in 1995 really couldn't match what the original arcade game could do graphically. It's not really until you get to the PlayStation version that you have a game that looks like the arcade, and there are other problems with that version. So the big problem is that there's really no incentive for kids to go out to the arcades and spend all their quarters on these games if they can just stay home and play the home console version, right? You can go over to the arcade and, like, when I was a kid, NBA Jam Tournament Edition usually cost $1 for a full game. That's the cheaper price. I think the default is $2, but say it's $1, right? So if you're gonna look at the cost, say the game came out at like $60 brand new on the Super Nintendo, you could technically play in the arcade 60 different times to equal the price of buying it and playing it at home. But the issue is that the $60 price is a one-time fee, and at home you can play with multiple players, you can have your friends over, you can do, you know, one of these big gaming sleepovers. All of us did it back in those days, right? Like, it's a real hard sell to say, you know what, screw that, let's just go over to the mall and go to where things are like dingy and wait in line for other people to finish playing, convert our dollars to quarters. You see what I'm saying? Like, the thing is that the gameplay is important, but because these are arcade games that are designed to get you to stick in your money every 5 minutes or so, you have to have the graphics. You have to have this, like, be wowed over experience. The arcade game had to be, like, totally better than the home console port in order to incentivize kids to go to the arcade and play it. And remember, it's not like we're talking about like a deep RPG or something like that. Like, you had to have graphics that would blow you away for the 5 minutes or whatever you're playing the game. Otherwise, you just stay home and play Chrono Trigger. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that the graphics issue is one of the reasons why Midway stopped with arcade games not long after NBA Showtime. The other problem, of course, is that the arcade machines were really big. In fact, some of these old cabinets were absolutely huge and took up a ton of real estate. Plus, it's a considerable investment to get one of these machines, even today when it's used. So the thing is that if you're like a business, you're spending $5,000 on one of these machines, you got to make sure you got room for it. You got to make sure that you can actually turn like the attract mode on, you know, with the lights and the sounds and stuff like that. You got to make sure also that you have enough potential customers to make the whole thing worth your while. And of course, consumer behavior over the last 20 plus years has changed a lot, right? Kids don't go to the arcade to play video games anymore. Instead, we sit around at home, we go on the computer, we go down and play in the basement or whatever. We tend to play most of these games actually on our phones. This is one of the reasons games like NBA Jam On Fire Edition came out directly to console.
Now fades, fire. Come on, a little fire, Scarecrow.
This game might be over a decade old, but the graphics still look impressive, especially in this Legends mod that I'm playing with here.
Sorry, the drive-thru is closed. You'll have to come inside. Unloading for 3. Not even close.
It looks miles beyond what NBA Showtime was capable of.
Finds Marbury. He pokes it away. This guy's red hot. Hands off the Van Horn.
But even still, these graphics are not impressive enough these days to get people to shell out money at the arcade.
On your dunk? Try dunk it all.
Anyway, the world of arcade gaming really has changed a lot. And as some of you know, there is a recent version of an NBA Jam type game that came out called NBA Superstars. This came out in early 2024. It was made by a bunch of employees who used to work for Midway, who are now working for a company called Raw Thrills. Now, I don't have any video footage of this game. You can find some of it on YouTube. I don't want to go steal it necessarily from, kids that uploaded, like their dad took a video of them playing it or whatever. As far as I know, it can't be emulated. There's no home console version of it. And personally, I'm not really willing to go out and shell out however much money it's going to cost to go to Dave & Buster's and just to play this game. But I will show you some of the screenshots that are available online. Now, it might be true that the game itself has absolutely incredible graphics. If you ask me, though, this doesn't look any better than NBA Jam on Fire Edition, and I include the graphics that I saw in the demo that you can watch on YouTube. If anything, this reminds me of those cheap indie games you can usually get on Steam or on a console store for about $15 or so. Now, there are some things about this NBA Superstars game that are just weird. Weird as in, I don't understand the logic behind the business plan. So for example, this is a 3-on-3 game, not 2-on-2. Now that's fine. NBA Street was 3-on-3 and that had tons of fans. It worked great. But there's a reason why the 3-on-3 mode here doesn't seem to fit. You see, the cabinet itself only has room for 4 players, not 6. So why do that? I mean, look, I know that 4 players is the tradition, right? I mean, NBA Jam was 2-on-2 because it was most cost effective to put 4 people around the system, right? This is also the reason why, most games, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a 4-player game, right? The Simpsons was 4-player. Now remember though, X-Men was 6-player in the original cabinet. Anyway, the thing is that there is enough room on that NBA Superstars cabinet to fit 6 controllers. There's more than enough room for that. So, why limit yourself? Let me put it to you this way. If I'm going to my kid's birthday party and they're doing it at Dave & Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, and there are 5 other dads there like me who are kind of moping about, if we see this game, we're all going to want to play at the same time, right? We don't want to have just, 2-on-2 and then computer players. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's a 3-on-3 game. Why limit yourself? The other obvious problem is that NBA Superstars is monstrously big, so big that most companies simply don't have the space for it. So if you look at this random old arcade footage I found, you'll see what I'm talking about. In the old days, the cabinets were designed in part to be stacked up next to each other like this. In contrast, with this 75-inch HD screen, NBA Superstars is a total space hog. And then you've got all the lights and all the things that come on. All of these are parts that will break over time. Now, this game certainly has a great attract mode, that's for sure. But you would have to be running a dedicated arcade hall with tons of space to realistically host this game. So I know that the other Raw Thrills games have the same problem. A couple years back, I went with my kids over to the mall to play one of those Minecraft arcade games that the same company made. Honestly, it's not a great playing experience. You play it for 2 minutes and you're like, I wasted my money. I should have stayed home and played it on the computer, right? You can't do that with NBA Superstars. There's no home console port. But I've really got to wonder about some of these management decisions behind making these games these days. As I said, there's nothing graphically here that you can't do on an average video card on your average computer. In fact, these graphics from these screenshots look a bit outdated, and if you don't believe me, go and watch what you can find on YouTube. The biggest problem, though, is that your business would wind up having to pay $15 for this machine brand new. That's $15 before shipping. And that $15 cost is the best deal I found online. Other stores are more expensive. I mean, you're going to really have to have a ton of foot traffic to even justify this. So sadly, the good old days where you could find NBA Jam at your local pizzeria or at the bowling alley or at the movie theater, those days are gone. Heck, I used to play it at the grocery store, right? It was at the grocery store my mom went to back when I was in middle school, and I would save up money and I would convert it to quarters and sit there and play while she was in there shopping. But the big question that I've got is why the company, Raw Thrills, decided to make this game an arcade exclusive instead of doing the obvious thing and going to where the gamers are on the consoles. Again, the graphics in NBA Jam on Fire Edition are perfectly fine.
And he's twisting like a cat in a bag. Watch those elbows.
This type of game is all that you need. Just update the rosters, give us some more gameplay choices, let us mod the game, something like that.
Straight jacket on this guy. He's starting to warm up.
Heck, even the NBA Street Series still looks good today.
The aim is true.
I'm playing the PlayStation 2 version, which probably has the worst graphics of all the home versions. But does NBA Superstars really look that much better? Anyway, I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. There is demand out there for a new NBA Jam game or a new NBA Street game, sure. But there's no demand out there at all for an arcade-only game, especially a game that costs like $2 for a quarter for a single player. Everywhere you look online, you see the same thing. Everybody wants to play this game, but at home, largely because the game in the arcade is ridiculously overpriced. And I seriously think that they could have made more money as a company by making this a direct-to-console release. I mean, honestly, look at it. What arcade owner is simply going to devote space to this monster? Anyway, I know I've gotten way off track on this. My apologies for that. My point behind all of this, though, is that the economics of arcade games have changed. And it's changed to the point where it just doesn't make financial sense for a company to make games like this anymore. That's the thing that really hurt NBA Showtime the most back in 1999-2000. Like, the truth is that Midway didn't stop making arcade games because, like, it was bad at making games. No, the company stopped making them because it didn't make any economic sense. It just wasn't cost effective. It costs a lot of money to put these units together. It costs money to be able to repair them. And of course, even worse is that Midway and Williams were together and they were making pinball machines, which are even more of a nightmare. And there's a reason why you don't see very many of those these days either. Anyway, this is why it's so shocking to me that Raw Thrills would make NBA Superstars an arcade-only game and at this ridiculous cost. It just doesn't make sense when you look at the economics of gaming. So don't get me wrong, NBA Showtime is still a fun game to play. But it's not a game that you're going to come back to very often, especially compared to the other games in the series.
He missed again. He goes right back to the rim. Whoa, pow, he dunked it.
So for example, it's kind of a dark game, as you can see.
The last shot. It could be no good.
It's similar in that way to NBA Hang Time.
Hendrick. Oh, Hendrick.
The old NBA Jam games are noticeably lighter and much more colorful. And that foul system in Showtime is ridiculous at best.
Loose. Arcs. And now he spins right by him. Iverson. He is really.
The gameplay also feels like something is missing.
Quick release. Oh, was that a thing of beauty?
Worst of all, it feels harder to do the impressive dunks than in any of the other games.
Carry. It's good.
And honestly, why even bother playing NBA Jam if you can't do crazy dunks? Anyway, NBA Showtime really marked the end of an era, and unfortunately this era is not going to come back anytime soon. Like, I could theoretically see it happening one day, maybe, but only if you do it in a cost-effective way, if you've got like a cabinet that's smaller, and if you've got some sort of trick you can do to really attract people to it. Like, I know that the 75-inch screen is big. You can see the freaking screen like across the street, right? Obviously. But it's not happening, not at those prices. And like, what store is gonna hold a unit that's that size, right? And it costs like $10 to play a single game. Who wants to spend $10 on a stupid arcade game? I mean, what we really need is for somebody to make a game that's like NBA Jam or like Run and Gun, or even like a combination of the two, and stick it out as a console-only game, like an indie-type console-only thing for like 10 or 15 bucks, right? You don't even need the official license, right? Run and Gun didn't have it, and that's a great game, right? Anyway, maybe someday this will happen. Who knows? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Until then, I'm going back. I'm going to play more NBA Jam.